All right, let's get started. So this is the masterclass for how to start a licensing company. And we're honored today at Catch the Moon Music to have Wendy Griffiths with us. She's an amazing licensing agent, a good friend of our company, does lots of work with us, partnerships in exploring sync briefs and giving us opportunities. She's been in the field for quite a while. And so welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. Hello. I don't know if I know everyone or if I saw you at Sync Keepers or if you emailed me or texted me, but I glad to. And so if I scroll across, is this right? Oh, there we go. Joe, Sarah, Jared, George.
Yeah, if you click the participants list. And just a couple housekeeping things, just guys, if you will be careful with not unmuting yourself unless you are called upon. If you do have a question, just raise your little virtual hand, hit that little button, your hand will go up and we can call on you. But I'm going to start off by asking Wendy to tell us a little bit about her story. Give us that 80,000 foot view bullet point story. How you got to where you are.
I'm still having fun clicking through everyone. So I've been in the music business 34 years, and I met somebody. I was signed up to go to USC to study film because I did not know there was a music business. They didn't offer music business classes and music programs like they do now at so many of the universities. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna study production because I was like, someone must make these records. Someone has to engineer and produce and make these albums, vinyl. So I started taking audio production classes. Again, not knowing there were record companies. And one of my girls, one of my labs, we were, segueing. This is back when there was still tape. This was 85. And I was right out of high school. Basically met somebody in my lab class, and she said, my dad works at Warner Brother Records. Do you want to come visit? I was like, I think that's the logo on Devo records and the Van Halen records. I think I recognize that logo. Oh, it's a company? Okay, cool. This is, before you could like go online and research what's Warner Brothers. So I went there. I left with swag, everything that I had stood in line for years to buy an album the day it came out and to wait in line, and T-shirts, shirts, and buttons, and everything that I had bought and spent my teenage hard-earned on. I walked out of the office with a pile of stuff and was like, wow. That's the record company. Okay, within a matter of days, they were starting the tape duplicating department downstairs. So I made copies. I would crack a joke about making copies. Maybe some of you would get that joke or not, but
I got it. Wendy, we're having just a little hard time hearing you. Do you think you could speak up?
Don't you get closer, sir?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Get closer. Yeah, making copies. I was downstairs duplicating like first AHA video, then duplicating the next AHA video that came in. That was the beautiful animated piece. I was making copies of Prince rough cuts and Madonna rough cuts, and recording MTV because I loved MTV, and I was more of a rock person, and so I was just in heaven, and I was going into the vault at night and pulling things. Basically, I spent 25 years at Warner Brothers, and I worked my way up. In the video department, doing every aspect of video, because that was how you made records or how you broke artists. I would literally take the Madonna 1-inch, the master. You'd make a clone of it. A lot of you maybe have read recently about Universal and a lot of masters that have been burned. I don't know if you guys have seen that in the press lately, but it's been. If you Google Universal masters burned, hit last week. I know I'm going off topic a little bit, but I think it's really kind of relevant to where we're all at as musicians. And hundreds and thousands of master tapes in a fire on the NBC lot. I think it was 2008, 2009. And what Universal had done is gone a lot of companies and catalogs, and we're storing the master in a vault that not properly with the air conditioning, the sprinklers, and recently hundreds of masters burned. And these artists are just now finding out about them. They're going to make like their 30th year budget. So my point was, we would always make a clone. We'd make a clone of all the videos, and then I would sit there and I would type in my writer, the MTV submission form for Madonna, like Virgin and whatever, and submit the video and FedEx the video, like literally overnight the video for the premiere. So that for 25 years ended up moving into sync when MTV began to not play as many music videos, and it was a hard transition for me because he had been my sort of bread and butter. But it was relationships. It was just an extension. Working with sync was so much greater because it allowed, rather than people at MTV and VH1, you've got 300 or 600 people and you can sync. You're not working music video, you're working with the whole EP, you're working with the whole album's worth of music. It's infinite. So it was a really natural progression for me to take my people skills, which is one of the things you have to do when you're a sync agent, is even if you're not having a great day, it's like any sales job. You really have to get up, turn it on, and be friendly. And I'm an extrovert, right? And a lot of people are introverts. There's all these, there's 16 personality types. And you have to kind of go into yourself and find that your own style. I don't like to be a sales type person. I like to be genuine in my approach. And often you form friendships with people. And I know that through Catch the Moon and Kathy, Dean, and Zion, and Victoria, and everybody, you've learned about the importance of relationships with your supervisors and how to get their attention. As you're pitching your own music, and I know we're talking about how to start your own company, I think one of the most important things was obvious is being genuine, be yourself, and not. It's hard for me even to this day sometimes when I go to write an email, because I'm a good writer, but I verbalize myself better. I think I express myself verbally better than I do in writing. But it's those introduction emails. It's having them feel like you're paying attention to the music that they're looking for, that this shows they're looking for. And I've had a company only about 6 months now, and one of the things that I'm still struggling with is really trying to personalize everything that I do, because there's so many supervisors. And when you want to start your own sync company, what you really need, and this is the most obvious thing, is good music. It starts with good music. When I realized I didn't want to work in a corporation anymore, because obvious the ways to get into it are be an assistant, be an intern, go work for a label in the sync department, go work for a publisher, indie major in the sync department, or just get your foot in the door in a label or a publisher. Like, those are obvious ways. Not always easy, but okay. Those are the obvious ways. A lot of ways to the people that I've watched people become their own sync agent is by working for and with a pitching person such as myself. I have a really great coordinator who I joke that, I'm training him, and I'm letting him, his name is Matt, and we met at Position Records, where the last company I last worked at. I think we're adjusting the audio. Great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's a weird internet stutter thing that's happening.
Maybe it's because my phone is on. It's because my phone.
I don't know what it is, but I think we can power through it. So
can you hear me okay? So what is, I went on my own, and I knew I needed a really, really great coordinator. And I gave someone a foot in the door who wanted to be in sync, who I knew had potential, was really smart because I'd watched him as an intern. But he was like, I can't get, I'm having a hard time getting a job because I don't have the experience. I mean, to work with me now, Matt, I'm like, you send the playlist, Mary Ramos. I don't know if you know who Mary Ramos is, but you Google her name. She's in Tarantino's supervisor. You send the music to YNR. You send it to Can, because I trust him, and I'm trying to mentor him and train him to be a sync agent and to be the best he can be. So you want to find one goal is to go work with someone that you is willing to kind of give you a shot. But I'm sure Zion might have questions, but then there's just practicality in starting your own company that we'll talk about too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anybody else a double when? Okay. Yeah. Is there a way you could do this maybe from your phone, Wendy?
Oh, because hey Matt, because I'm cutting out. Hey, you're cutting out too. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's really hard to understand you.
I'm wired in too. I'm on my net. I'm not wireless. Okay.
Might be an issue.
Let me get Matt to dial me a phone just so I can keep him to you for a second here. Let me just try this.
Okay.
I apologize. Did you guys hear anything I just said, or was it breaking up?
I think we heard most of what you said there.
Okay, good. I just was like
Oh, if you can.
Here, the meeting link speed. Okay. I am not technically very sorry. So I cut and paste this. You can in that. I've been talking about you anyways. This is Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, it's breaking up too much. Let everybody see you. But say hi to everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Matt keeps me afloat.
Cool.
So I need to dial in. So I'll keep talking a little bit while Matt helps me get it on my phone so that we don't waste time. Called me efficient. You want to ask me a couple questions, or do you want to just pause until I'm on my phone?
Let's just pause for just a second.
Got it. So I'm hang up.
Okay.
Hang up. Apology. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. I just don't want it to be super distracting the entire time. If it's something we can fix, but it might be an internet connection issue, or it might be, I don't know.
Welcomed all of us, greeted all of us, gave us a big hug, and then Joni Mitchell was there. And she was also a Reprise, Warner Brothers client, and managed by Neil Young's manager. So I got to have a few words with Joni Mitchell, which was a really honor and a highlight. And I got to share a funny story with her from the Grammys.
Incredible.
What we need to do some days, we can have Wendy's rock and roll stories. Okay, back to
all right. So let's start off real quick, and I want to ask you about what in the world a licensing agent does. For those who are kind of familiar, they're not really sure how it compares to a music supervisor. Like, what is a licensing agent?
A licensing agent, my job is to, and this is what I was touching on, is finding the best music you can. I see myself, even at every company I've worked at, I am an extension of the music I represent. And the ability to clear that music easily without anybody being precious. So a sync agent needs to generally have an outgoing personality. I was talking about being extroverted. You don't have to be extroverted, but it's helpful because you're basically in a sales role. But the fun thing is you're selling music, right? But you're doing it in a way that is genuine to you, and that does not feel like that salesy, hypey thing that supervisors aren't going to react to. And if any of you are in retail or deal in client services, you know the benefits of that. So my job is to form relationships with the supervisors, get them to come to you. I want to say that it's about getting the briefs, because it is about getting the briefs, right? You want to get those briefs because most supervisors are very busy. And what we're doing is we're fulfilling their needs. We're providing a service to them, often last minute when they're in a hurry because a song has fallen out or something's too expensive.
What is a brief, Wendy?
A brief is an emailed description of exactly what the show is, maybe a link or two to a couple of YouTube videos or references a Spotify playlist,
A brief breaks down what the director, what the showrunner, what the creatives, what the scene needs. Often a brief can come from an ad agency and it will be very vague, looking for female up-tempo songs need to be released in 2019. You have no idea what you're pitching for. And if you had an idea what you were pitching for, you can visualize, you can begin. That's where you get to take that creative side as artists, you're musicians. It's where you get to take that creative side and visualize. Or sometimes they'll maybe give you the storyboard. Sometimes maybe they'll give you a rough cut to the commercial with no audio, and you can lay audio up against it or play songs against it. But a brief is the supervisor's attempt at communicating to a lot of people or you what they need for a season of a television show, an ad, or even a scene in a movie or a scene in a television show.
Awesome.
I get into video games and trailers and whatnot, but so that's what a brief is. Some people call it a search, but a brief is like a brief description of what they're looking for.
Excellent. That's super helpful. Okay, so you're saying the biggest thing as your job is to form relationships so that you start getting those briefs. What else do you do in your job?
So my relationships with my supervisors are really, really important, but equally important are my relationships with my clients, whether it's working with Catch the Moon, whether it's working with Black Motorcycle Club's manager, whether it's working with composers that write. I spend probably a majority of my time. That's why it's a two-person show. I spend a majority of my time making sure that my clients, my writers, my composers, my bands, my managers, the independent label I work for, that they're happy and that they are feeling served and that they feel like their music is being pitched and shared. With my clients, I often share the briefs with them. You don't give them all the supervisor information because you don't want them to go around you, but most people I work with, I trust. So what you really need to do, in addition to having those relationships with the supervisor, is really having relationships and friendships with the people that are giving you music, because you want to trust each other. And again, I've been in the business a long time, so I know a lot of people. But I was even thinking before this call today, I mean, you all know one another. There may be some of you that aspire to create and have your own pitching companies. Amongst yourselves, you're sitting there with these relationships and friendships, because I see the way you all communicate and talk and share back and forth. So it's almost as if I were taking this class and I wanted to start my own sync company. I would right there reach out to my resources and my team around me. Obviously you'd want to check in with Kathy, because Kathy's got a business. She's running multiple businesses, but a lot of it is the musicians that the friends you have that are trying to make it, the people you've done co-writes with, bands you go out and you see on a Friday night or a Monday night because someone's asked you to. You need music. You need music that you like. You don't have to love it, but you have to think about, do I hear this music? Could I hear this in an ad? Do I picture that? And someone can have like a thrash metal band and you think they're freaking amazing and you love them. And maybe what I'll do is I'll take in one or two thrash metal hard bands to have for those briefs, but that music doesn't sync a lot. So it's really about diversifying your catalog and having quality music.
Makes a ton of sense.
You've got to have good music, because if you send dud music to the supervisors, sometimes you don't get the briefs anymore, or they don't open your emails first with your disco link or your SoundCloud. So you really have to think about it from their perspective. And in essence, we're music supervisors, because we're editing and thinking, what's my soup gonna like? So you're getting to, people say, oh, I want to be a music supervisor. I want to be a music supervisor. And I say, well, in essence, when you're in a sync department or you're doing sync, you are that. Granted, you're not talking directly to directors and whatnot, but you're
You're sort of thinking the same way.
You're creating playlists that you think the supervisor is going to like.
Right. That makes more sense. So somebody asked in the class, can you highlight the difference between that formalized licensing agent position and the formalized music supervisor position? I know that there's a lot of that overlap, but how would you describe the difference in their jobs?
Okay, so a music supervisor is generally hired by either a studio or a network or their director friend who lives down the street or their producer friend who lives down the street. There's a lot of different ways. The supervision business is really competitive, and they start out doing a lot of independent films and doing low budget films, and supervisors' roles are to go out there and have relationships with anybody and everybody. They have it more intense than we do almost, because they're expected to be able to find jazz from the 30s and disco from the 70s, and to know where their one stop is, and to know what production libraries can customize. Like, they have a lot of pressure on them, and honestly they have to deliver music for seasons of television within a certain budget. That's why they come to us. They maybe only have $500 a song or $1,000 a song. So their role is to fulfill the director or the showrunner's vision. And they have it really tough because those showrunners and those directors don't always know what they want, or they fall in love with the song they can't afford, or a friend of theirs sends them a song and the director's like, can you find a spot for this? So their role, and they have a lot of pressure because they're either, they're dealing with a major studio, they're dealing with, maybe it's a $30 million film, and they've got to be able to close and deliver on songs for their director. They're only as good as their relationship with the pitching people. So they, in essence, have that role to fill. And then our job, the difference is our job is to A, get to know them, B, see what they're working on, be proactive if we can, but also to service them. We pitch the music to them that they then take and pitch to their showrunners and directors, right? So they're a middle person. They don't always get to choose the music. What they do is they choose from the playlist they get sent by 75 or 100 different people. They choose what music to then send to the creatives working on the project. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did I explain the difference?
I think so. I hope that helped, guys.
Does that help?
So if I were, let's say I was an artist for a while, and there's a reason I'm asking this is because I know several people that have been artists and students of Catch the Moon Music, and they're like, why can't I become a licensing agent? Can you tell me like the biggest, like, hey, if you're ever going to get into this, you need to know this, how hard it is in this area or this challenge, or kind of give us the reality of.
I'll give you the reality because I'm a perfect example of the reality of having been in the music business for almost 35 years. I've been at majors, and even at majors, and I still to this day talk to former employees, friends, colleagues in the sync department because I'll be frustrated that I can't get this one or two ad agencies to add me. And they say to me, Wendy, I'm at Warner Brothers or I'm at Atlantic Records. I haven't been able to crack the guy yet. I haven't been able to get them from her yet. So when I hear that, A, it makes me feel better. B, it's frustrating. But C, you have to have the tenacity and the patience and the wherewithal to keep going and to keep getting good music. So when I was at majors for 30 years.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? Yes. So I was at majors for 30 years where they would come to us, right? But if I had the new My Chemical Romance record, or the new Muse record, or the new Green Day, whatever, Neil Young, Iron and Wine, whatever, I'd have to go out there and let them know it was coming. And when I get reminded about all the music I'm competing with, because I'm right now working with Johnny Resnick, the singer from the Goo Goo Dolls, the writer. he's unpublished. And I get reminded because I'm talking to my friends at Warner Brothers, because I worked with Johnny for 25 years, but I'm now representing his publishing. And just in having the dialogue and conversations with my friends at the labels, I get reminded what even the Goo Goo Dolls are competing against, right? So the challenges are not getting discouraged and getting up every day and doing a few things that helped progressed your business, even if it's just reaching out to 5 supervisors with 5 custom emails, even if it's having 1 or 2 phone calls with someone who's got great music, and telling them what you're going to bring to them and what kind of service you're going to give to them. So I still, I get excited when I get briefs from someone I've never gotten them before. I'm like, Matt, yes, we got him, we got her.
Awesome.
Right. And so you have to have that, I still get excited by the little things. And then, you get a quote request and you want so badly a quote request is when a supervisor, you've sent the music. And usually what happens, this happens at the majors too, you send music and the supervisor does not respond. Crickets, 0. You're at Warner Brother Records, you're at Atlantic, you're at Epic, you're at a major label, and they may say thanks, but they are getting so much music they don't even respond to the playlist. Ooh, feedback.
All right, let me work on that.
So it's having the tenacity and the drive and the loving the little accomplishments. And when you get that quote request, like I was discussing, that's when you've sent music. You probably haven't heard from the supervisor. It's been 2 months, maybe it's been 3 months, and all of a sudden you wake up on a Monday morning and you have, hello. We'd love to get waves for, the Henry Stone catalog, 2 classic songs you pitched for the new Loretta Lynn biopic, and Patsy Cline pick. And you kind of get the sense, you can kind of tell when they're potentially going to use it, but at the same time too, they'll send you a quote request. When they ask for instrumentals and waves, that means they're editing with it. So when you get a wave request or instrumental, that they are giving it to the editor to see if they can make it work to picture, or they have a scene they're pretty sure they want it to work. So that gives you your signal. But I guess I'm going off track a little bit. But
this is great.
I wanted to explain what a quote request was.
Yeah. So a quote request usually means that they are more toward they're really interested. They're already starting to look at it, work with it. It's an exciting thing to get, right? Quote request.
And here's one, like last week, we got a quote request for this really amazing hip hop artist I'm working with. And he writes upbeat, inspirational, winning, victorious type hip hop music. And we got a request from, and I could see, because I have a program that allows me to spy and see when the supervisors are opening my playlist, and Matt and I can see when they've clicked on something. We can see when they've opened the email. A, getting them to open it is just an accomplishment, and B, getting them to click on the link, that's the holy grail, because that means they're listening. And then Matt can follow and watch when they're downloading.
Love it.
So I could see that the NBA, they were listening and clicking on all this music last week. And so I was like, oh, they're in full on mode. And sure enough, I don't know, Thursday, Friday, whenever it was, I got a quote request for a song. And I get so excited because I feel like, oh, I've got one for my artist, but I have to remember, I haven't gotten one. This music is getting basically pre-cleared and given to all the editors that are editing all this. This is actually for an HBO special on the Raiders.
Wow.
So I know that they're clearing songs to give to the editors to consider to see if they can make it work. I now have to wait. I've gone and told my client that, hey, we got a quote request. We got surprised because we thought one of them had a major publisher. They did for a minute. They did. We were okay, but I had to go back to my client because they thought it was one stop. There's like 5% is with the major, but it didn't discourage them. They're the NFL, right? I might have said NBA. I apologize. The NFL, they're used to having to clear through multiple people, but now I have to wait for an official quote request to come through. Well, I have the quote request, but I have to wait for them to say this is going to license. This is a confirmation. And what you have to remember is they are clearing so much music, and they may be on to new projects. And this HBO special may have already aired, and I haven't heard from them. And that's where Matt really, really helps me, or that's where watching TV, whether it's streaming, whatever it is, watching TV, with ads or paying attention to the ads on YouTube and whatnot, you get reminded, oh my gosh, that HBO special aired already. Or you can Google to see when the HBO special is airing on the Raiders. And if you haven't heard from your supervisor, you check in with them. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to let you know. Yes, this confirmed. I'll send the paperwork through. You'd be sitting there waiting, not knowing, but because you're proactive and you've got someone like a coordinator helping between Matt and I, we're going to keep track and remember when that potential use happened for our artist.
That's
and then
awesome.
Of course the artist gets excited and they're waiting and they're wondering, or even the artist will watch and they'll tell you, I heard my song in the show. And then you feel like a little bit of like, I'd say an idiot, but goofball, because you didn't know, because the supervisors don't come to you and tell you because they're already on to the next 3 projects. Wow. Make sense?
Yeah.
High volume for these people.
Right.
So I know I kind of get off on little tangents, but that was a little bit about, the difference in the two and the reality of what it's like being a pitching agent. Because you want to feel special and like they love just your music but you forget they're doing cue sheets. They're having clear music. They're having to turn in the cue sheet. They've got so much on their plates. And that's one of the reasons why they don't always get back to us. And they don't have a lot of time to talk on the phone. And they don't want you to email and follow up. They may say thanks, and then you just let it go. And then today, we got a quote request, and we sent the waves through. And Matt and I will make note on the day we sent the waves, and then we'll follow up.
That's awesome. So, if do you at Truly Music? Your company's called Truly Music, correct?
Correct, named after my daughter, and it's also truly about the music.
I love that. Do you represent artists in an exclusive way, or do you do each song sort of single song agreements when you're pitching songs?
Because I'm starting my own company, and even though I've been in the business 35 years, I could have this attitude of, if you want to work with me, it's going to be exclusive, but I want to be really user friendly. So I do non-exclusive agreements. I like to at least have 3 to 6 months. Some clients put me on a very small retainer if they're if I'm pitching, or they like the pub and the master might be taken already, or they've got huge volume. They may put me on a small retainer, which helps to kind of get you off the ground. You generally, I guess, sort of repeat the question again.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering, I just was curious if you, I think you just answered it, if you actually work with non-exclusive artists, and it sounds like you do.
So you need to be user-friendly.
Yeah.
I feel it's really competitive. There's so many sync agents out there. A lot of them are all exclusive. And when you come in, you say, hey, I only take 25% and I'm non-exclusive and I'm not going to take your publishing. That is music to an artist's ear. So that right now, because I know how competitive it is and I'm building my own business, I'm being very user friendly, taking my ego out of it, taking all the right, and just trying to be a really good partner, a business partner to people, so that I can get great music in and get the volume of music that I need.
When you started this, did you have to get any, did you already have the kind of forms you needed for like single song agreements and that kind of thing? How did you go about knowing to cover all your bases from a legal standpoint?
So that's a good question. And it's very easy, as Matt and I have found, to get so preoccupied responding to briefs that have deadlines and rushing and talking to all the clients that want to give you new music. Most clients don't even like ask you for agreements, but agreements are our whole thing. Matt and I actually are going to sit down today and kind of finalize our agreement. Um, I'm not an attorney, neither is Matt, but I have enough relationships and know enough people that people will help you and share. I had someone share their agreement with me. We've kind of amended it slightly.
Mhm.
But that's where your relationships and friendships help you, and always being good to everybody and treating people the way you want to be treated, never burning a bridge.
Yeah.
I was able, sure, I could have copied something off the internet. But I had someone send me something and we've just amended it. Matt and I need to sit down and get agreements out to a lot of people, and most artists haven't even asked for them, but Matt and I know we need to do it. And I'm just admitting, right, this is where we've been so busy responding to briefs and trying to make the soups happy and get the music in the door and get it tagged, that we're only a few months in, and nothing, we're not in any precarious situation.
Right.
And that's why we're working with people that I know and I trust.
Mhm.
Right, it's the importance of it also. But that's a whole other project
Sure. And
that
what
needs
about
to be taken care of, that you
the
have to deal
times
with.
that I have had my music connect with a licensing agent? They often have a Schedule A that they ask us to fill out. Can you do you use a Schedule A kind of spreadsheet kind of thing to
That's Matt. That's where I'm gonna, I would toss to Matt right now, and he's probably listening in. So Matt, having been fresh out of school, he's got this, he has this all in his head. And we're in the process right now, like I said, because I'm not an attorney, but we are about to get ready to send out the contracts with the
Mhm.
schedule A's. But in all honesty, we're needing. I've reached out to somebody. We need someone to help us tag audio because
Mm.
it's coming in, and to help us organize our music. Because for Matt to really spend time getting those schedule A's out and the contracts, that's a full-time job for
Mhm.
him. Again, it'll only take a finite amount of time, but it's almost like I feel like I already need to add to the staff of the company. But I'm not quite ready there yet. But I know Matt's like, I need to get this audio tag because we got to get our schedule A's out. So
Mhm.
it's, you're trying to build a business, and I didn't go out. I don't have VC money. I'm literally doing this. I'm like literally an upstart.
Mhm.
I'm on the other side of 50, and I'm more of the creative type. I'm in the
Mhm.
creative part of my brain, and I'm the relationship person. And that's why I'm really, really grateful to have someone like Matt, who's able to be in his creative brain, but it's also very focused on the details, the small details that need to be
Love
done.
that. Yeah, it's such a
Usually, this is what happens usually at record companies. When I pitched at Warner Brother Records, I never had to quote, I never had to do any of that. You have a whole department that does that for you. Then when I went to BMG and I ran a 30-person department at BMG, 22 of those people out of the 30 were all negotiators and people who issue licenses. There was only
wow.
6 or 7 of us. Again, you're managing 2 million copyrights and masters, 6 or 7 of us pitching, and 22, 23 people quoting and issuing licenses. And then a whole other department is doing the admin, right? The schedule A's, a whole other
Mhm.
department. So when you're starting your own company, you've got to think about, I need someone really smart and sharp, like my Matt, um, that will be comfortable doing that, that understands it, that gets it. And hopefully um, I think it's really brilliant. I love it when someone has both sides to them, the creative side and the admin side. I have the business side, and the creative side, but I personally, my time is better suited out on the front lines, getting briefs in the door, getting music in the door, than sitting behind the computer, getting Schedule A's.
Gotcha. Makes a
Right.
lot of sense.
It
Yeah.
goes out the door. So, anyways, sorry I ramble about that, but
No, that's great. Somebody asked in the class, how many songs and artists should a licensing agent take on, like represent? What is too much? What is too little?
okay, so right now, Matt and I, so we've been going, he's been with me about 3-4 months. I started in January. I think between our mains, our instrumentals, and our cleans versions, I think we've got almost 2,500 songs.
Wow.
Which means I've got, 1,200 songs. I've got 1,000 songs.
Sure.
1,000. That's a lot.
There's a lot. You just started.
And I'm grateful. And what's happening, so Matt and I are going to meet today. And I said, Matt, we're going to listen. First, we're going to invoice, and then we're going to listen to music today. We're getting paid to listen to music today. Because guess what? There are so many people referring someone who knows someone who knows someone who heard. And I'm blessed, and I never take it for granted. And I want to give every bit of music attention. And I also have to admit too that there's been some CTM. There's been some CTM artists and people who have emailed me and sent me Facebook messages, and it's been hard for me to get to all of you. If some of you are people that have sent me music, I apologize, and send it to me again if you haven't sent it to me yet, because a lot of time goes into listening to music and giving it all the attention it deserves. And I don't want to just like hand it off to Matt and be like, let me know what's good and put it in the catalog. Like I'm a music fan. I love music. So today we're going to listen to music because it's generally, it's word of mouth. And we've got at least 1,000 songs, but about 2,500 because of the instrumentals and the clean versions. But I imagine in the next month, I could have another 250. Like when you get connected with a composer or someone who has a production library, they're sitting on thousands of songs. So what is we send briefs to them, and we have to be careful because you're paying as a pitching person, you're paying for your storage, you're paying for your box.com, your SoundCloud, your disco, you're paying for your storage, right? You're paying for your source audio. You're having to decide, what do I take in and tag and put into my catalog? Because you're paying for that, right? You're paying for that as you're waiting. Some writers only pay you when they get paid by their publisher. So you're waiting for a royalty run, and royalty runs can happen every 90 days. 6 months. So you have to think about this too. You're starting and you're not getting paid. If you land something for somebody, you're not getting paid until your client gets paid, and they're not going to get paid. The TV show may not pay for 6 to 9 months, right? So there's a lot of investment that has to go into it. You kind of think that you don't think about, that you realize, okay, I'm not going to necessarily get paid tomorrow. It's not like you get paid for a service and you get paid at the end of the week. So anyways, I answered that the long way, but about 2,500.
That's impressive. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're going pretty fast.
Do you have I know at CTM you kind of were involved for a while with kind of our process, helping us out at one point with listening to songs and kind of the process that we had created. Do you guys have a process that you would be open to opening up to, or an email or some way if people wanted to contact you directly, or are you taking any of that? I want to be very respectful of, your.
Yeah. And I love the CTM family. I only attended that one Sync Keepers event, and I spent 2 days there, and I watched and I spoke on one panel, and I just saw the energy in the room, and I met some of you, and I left with business cards and a box full of drives and music. And I thought it was a really special group of people. And I think, I think the best way, it's probably via my email, but what I need to have you do is copy Matt, my coordinator, and what we do is we put everything into a folder that's like to be listened to.
Perfect.
And some of you have sent me music, and some I've listened to, and some I've not listened to. And I've also been sensitive to that these are, Kathy's relationships, and a lot of you work with Kathy, but I send her the briefs, and then we're able to pull your music from her catalog. So, but I do think, and I'll give Zion my email. He's got my email and Matt's email, because I would like to be able to listen to your music. If I don't get back to you right away, it just means that we're just a little bit overwhelmed or overloaded, but we have listening sessions every week where we go through music.
Love that.
So yeah, and it's hard to take time to critique every single song, but we'll try to give you a sense of, like, this music just does, because we do this with our clients, this, because I want to teach them, don't keep sending me this type of stuff. This is, look at what they're asking for. Listen to how specific they were with the BPMs. And Matt even calls me out, which is great, because I'm running around like a wild woman talking to people. He's like, they're too slow. Lyrically, they want non-romantic love, but or they want heartbreak, but I don't think they want it to be so sad. Like, let's, these briefs are crazy how descriptive they get. So, I'll give you feedback. It may be general feedback about what I think the songs in general need, but it's also, don't send me more than 4 to 5. If you're going to get your one shot and you're going to send music to a supervisor, what 4 songs would you send them? Supervisors don't want to listen to albums. Sync people don't have time to listen to 10 songs, or here's my catalog, or here's 15 songs I pulled. We'll let you know, right, if we like them, or we'll add you to a distribution list, and you can start to see some of the briefs that come through, right?
So if the connection you had wasn't with CTM right now, how would you normally go about looking for new music?
Well, Matt brings a lot of new music.
Oh.
Matt, because he's out at clubs a lot. A lot of it, when you worked at record companies and publishing companies, a lot of it is found online. So much music is found online, and if you find something on Spotify or on YouTube, if you're an A&R person or a sync person, you track it down. You go track it down. You message that person. You find out if they're publishing or their master is available. That's how a lot of people whose job it is to find music. Fortunately, I think a lot of the sync companies have gotten a little snobby. I think they're very, very particular. And I try to listen to everybody's music and think, where can I place this? Can I feel good representing this person, doing an agreement with them? Do I feel like I'm going to have enough to submit them for? So, but it's the internet, it's going to clubs, it's going out, it's listening to music, it's finding stuff online, and then I Shazam like crazy. I Shazam all of the time, because I learn, B, my clients are like, so what's trending right now? What do people want to, looking for? And I'm like, well, here's some Shazams I just happen to do. So there's any number of ways, the obvious ways.
Sure. That's fantastic. I think we lost your video for some reason.
Yeah, because I called.
Oh, there it is.
I'm back. Yeah,
okay.
Also, but it's really sort of once word of mouth begins, people have been rejected by pitching companies, or they're frustrated because the pitching company wants their publishing, and they're just happy to connect with you because you're not going to take their publishing, you're not going to take 50% of their song. Like, there's, that's why I'm trying to be user friendly right now.
Tom has a question. Tom, do you want to just jump online or unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question? Make it interactive here.
Awesome.
I'm not sure he has the capability for that. He's asking, what is it meant by an audio tag? You've mentioned that a few times.
Oh, okay. So back in the days when you would buy a song or download music from iTunes, remember we used to like buy music from iTunes?
Yeah.
I can't believe we've already seen the day where iPods are obsolete and the iTunes store, the music store, to shut down. Like that was
Crazy.
fast.
Yeah.
I would go in, and you can go in and it would do it automatically for you. It would stick all the songs into rock or pop or dance. But when I would be taking in new music, you go into the info section. This is initially when I was working in iTunes. And you add a keyword, you add a style of music, that allows you to go in and search quicker. That's what Matt and I are going to do, is really refine our keywords and our styles of music. So if they're looking for somber, sad, eerie, dark, scary, horror, we're going to start keywording our songs in the metadata, which is like basically in the info section of whatever program you use. And it allows you as a musician who's pitching your music to a sync agent or who is starting your own company, it allows you to search quicker. So you get, female vocal only, 2018 on. You've got the date in there, you got female in there, you've got keywords in there that allow you to present your music quicker and to also search your catalog if you're a pitching person or if you're sending music to a sync agent. Does that make sense? An answer?
Does it help for artists to do some of that tagging before they send you?
Of course. Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Besides the metadata, but like keyword tagging?
Yeah, I mean, most artists don't. What they'll do is they'll tell you the genre, or like, here's some of my recent stuff. I have a tendency to lean more pop. Or, hey, Wendy, I know you like rock, because everybody heard how much you like rock. Hey, I heard you like rock. I'm a rock artist. Here's some of my music. But to at least give the sync agent an idea of the type of music. Some are like, oh, I'm all over the place, I'm very eclectic, I can do anything. What I prefer is to know, I'm going to click in, I'm going to hear 3 songs that could work for trailers, or that they think can work for trailers, and I'm going to also, explain what you're sending. Don't just go like, hey, here's some new music I've been working on.
Right.
Give us something to go from. Give us a cheat sheet. Give us a little bit of info. And some artists are great at describing the song. You don't have to get into a whole description, and you don't have to do keywords either. You don't need to do that. We like to have consistency as a pitching company, and the person who'll be tagging, putting keywords, will all be speaking the same language. When I used to work for a publishing company, they were a German-owned company, and they would tag. And dance music in Germany and pop music in Germany is very different to the aesthetic in America. So imagine being in America and the tagging, the keywording is happening in Germany. Very, very confusing at times, and frustrating for the sync team in America trying to search when the music's been tagged by even in the UK, right? By different countries who have different ideas. So you don't need to tag it, but to let us know the style that you're sending, and really listen, and just, you can get descriptive, like these are non-romantic love songs. Try to interpret, try to think like a supervisor does. How do I help her? How do I help her understand what I'm about to listen, what she's about to listen to? But you don't have to get into a big dissertation about it, but just organize it.
Sarah, you have a question. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hey Wendy, thank you so much. This is beyond helpful. I chatted with you briefly at Sync Keepers, and I'm still a huge fan.
Yeah, I recognize you. Hi.
Hi. I have a question that you probably get a lot, but I'm wondering, Kathy always encourages us to ask our sync folks what their needs are, what their problem is, so that we can seek to solve it. do you guys have any trends that you're seeing that are coming in via briefs in terms of genre or style or theme?
I should have been more prepared for this question. No
worries.
I'll touch on a couple. But I know it in my head. A lot of what we get asked for, covers are never going to go out of style. The studios love a dark cover. Ad agencies love a happy cover. I'm going to just throw that out there right now, that at majors and indies, we would joke like, when's this cover thing going to go away? It's not going away, because it's a familiar song to an older demographic that you can market to a younger demographic because it's sung by some amazing young female vocalists, yet it's a Cat Stevens song, or it's a Tears for Fears song. We took and we had Lorde, before anybody knew who Lorde was, we had her cover, I think it was Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Was that the track we did? Yeah, before she broke, and oh, holy cow, we made so much money on that. So covers are always great to do, but you don't want to do, this is for everybody, you don't want to be a male singer-songwriter and go do a standard version of an Ed Sheeran track. You don't want to do a male vocal version of Ed Sheeran. You want to turn it upside down, right? You want to make it different, where you have to stop and be like, I recognize this song, but like, who is this? Where you really have to stop and think, right? We get eerie. Lately, we've gotten eerie, dark female. You get those primarily for trailers, but you've also, there's like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I wish I had those briefs in front of me, and maybe we'll need to do another call. But the scenes are so specific, and what they'll do is they just started requesting music for Empire. Empire's back, and with the supervisor, we've learned with the supervisor, they'll collect music in sections. So we got our first Empire brief last week, 10 to 12K all in, looking for, I think it was a vibey R&B urban. And then they sent a bunch of references. And then I have a feeling in a week or by Friday, we'll get another email from her saying, hey, looking for clean, edgy hip hop, or clean, edgy, female hip hop, right? So hip hop is endless. We're always getting asked for hip hop music. Music, for those of you that are composers and like to just create music without lyrics and vocals on them, there's always the beautiful cinematic style that you could see up against some sort of health ad, or even, there's the pharmaceuticals. If you watch, it's helpful. I know a lot of us are sick of watching TV, but if you can just stick on the morning news, put on the Today Show, whatever you're into, put on the morning TV for a couple hours, put on network TV. You may hate the shows, but listen to the ads in between the shows, right? And listen to watch the shows that are maybe a little bit heavy on music, or just watch one episode, skim through the ads, whatever it works. Again, I'm contradicting myself, but I like to now you'll see ads repeated, but you learn so much from watching TV or going to the movies early. I always want to get to the movie early because I want to see the trailers. I have to get there early to see the trailers, and my friends and everybody understands that about me now, because I can't miss the trailers. I got to see, and I'm like, they used that song. Or you go and you listen to the trailers and you hear those covers, or you hear that beautiful cinematic music that I'm talking about to those of you that are musicians but that don't sing, right? But you want that you create music on Pro Tools. The best ways to learn what the trends are to stay tuned and watch media, even if it's a couple nights a week, or throw it on the freaking background in the morning when you're working on stuff, and pay attention to those ads. So what I'm saying, so besides Empire, we've submitted on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. A lot of music, unfortunately, they want music from certain decades, and they'll say, this is another one that's really important, everybody, needs a retro vibe. So if it needs a retro vibe, and if you're a rock singer, don't try to make retro music. Make music that is true to who you are. But if you can take your voice and go into an Amy Winehouse range, or you can go into and I use Bruno Mars as a reference because Bruno can have a retro vibe to it, right? Good tempo. Don't believe it, just watch. Boom. Those lyrics that was used so much in television promos. It's crazy, right? And I remember too, back when the Black Eyed Peas were big. I'm of course going to forget the name of the song. Everyone, someone holler out the name of the Black Eyed Peas track that was licensed everywhere because it was about having a good time. It was about having.
I got a feeling that tonight's
Thank you. I knew someone would have it. So songs like that are money for TV promos. And I'll tell you right now, I don't have a lot of music or enough music yet for TV promos. But that's what promos are looking for, is that tune in, watch, and you don't have to write tune in, you don't have to write watch, but it's about that positivity and again, how do I say this without telling you to like write songs that say, check us out, but we're hot tonight. You can think about lyrically what NBC wants people to think about their Thursday night lineup, right? And again, watch NBC, just bite the bullet, turn it on one night during prime time, and just have it on in the background. So.
We have a question from Deb. We got to start wrapping it up, guys.
Sorry, I'll talk forever. Sorry.
No, I know. We love this. I just want to be respectful of your time, Wendy. Deb, do you want to jump in real quick?
Hey, Wendy. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hope to see you again in August. I'm excited. So here's my question, and I don't care about an exact number, but what's your gut feel on how many pitches you do compared to how many licenses you get? Is it like 10%, 50%? Nope, 2%. What's a realistic, target for people? Hard question, right?
We did this at the majors. We did these comparisons at BMG with 2 million copyrights. The conversion on the amount of quotes you send out it's not high. When you send music out and you're pitching music, I don't mean to be negative. I don't have an exact percentage, but I'll tell you, this is why it's so important to have diversity in your catalog if you want to be a sync agent. Because when I started working with I got Judd and Mia Apatow, Judd, the director, and his sister Mia, their grandfather was Bob Shad, S-H-A-D, and Bob Shad produced and apparently owned a lot of records. So I now have music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Oh, cool.
Saving grace to my catalog because now I can pitch on those briefs. But my point is I have to get that music out to people so they know I even have it. But the percentage, it's not huge. If you had the Foo Fighters, right? And they don't say yes to hardly anything. If you have Nirvana, like if you've got Bruno Mars, if you've got the biggest hits in the business, you're going to get a lot of requests, and your percentages are going to be really high. But as a sync agent, I don't have an exact number, and that's why you have to not get discouraged, and you have to just keep trudging through it. And that's why I get excited when I wake up Monday and I have a quote request. So I don't have a percentage for you, but even at the majors, it wasn't
too high.
Okay. The number of quotes. So I'm sorry. I'm just answering it honestly.
No, that's good. That's what I kind of want, kind of get a feel for what to expect or what.
I'm being super realistic with you. Being really realistic with you that it takes it takes a minute. It takes a minute. And I feel like the more time we as sync agents you put into it, it begins to like pay itself back. I feel like you're investing into your future. And I know the more music I could put out there, I say to Matt, we're sprinkling. All these briefs we're sending out music to, we're sprinkling. We're spreading our music out there. And eventually something's going to grow and someone's going to bite on it.
Yeah.
But you can go for a week, 2 weeks and have zero, and then your artist is like, well, so the next day they're like, so what they think of those songs I sent you? And I have to say, I haven't heard back, and I may not hear back until they decide they're ready to even go there. And if the supervisor's cool, they'll be like, hey, thanks, I'm just collecting stuff right now. I'll let you know when I'm ready to start digging into these.
Right.
Once again, a lengthy answer. I'm long-winded.
No, great question. You have time for one more question?
Of course. No, yeah, we can go a little bit longer. No problem. I enjoy it.
Okay. Maine, let's jump over to you. Are you there, Maine? All right.
Hi.
There you are.
Can you hear me? Hi. I was trying to mute myself. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm sorry. I'm seeing questions come up, but I'm not able to read all of them. I am seeing some of your questions. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Did we meet?
We did at Sync Event. Yes.
Yeah. You look familiar. Hi.
Hi. Very nice seeing you again. So I had this quick question about clearing the music content. So when you send it to music supervisor, and it's very probably legal aspects of it and paperwork, but I do understand how important it is. So when you send music to music supervisors, what type of paperwork it should go with it? Like, so do you just send the track and like, so here's or a list of tracks that could be good for the show, or do you have to send it with some sort of paperwork of clearing the track?
So generally, what you do is you respond to the email that if they've sent a brief out, what I like to do is to literally reply to the email they've sent you. They've generally got their coordinator, their intern, they've got someone on copy. So you reply all and you send your link of music to them, right?
Okay.
And if you want, you can list the name of the artist, and then you can list the songs. Don't send them 8 to 10 songs, but all you've got to do is send a link to the music. When they want a quote request, they will let you know, and they will either send you a form that you can fill in the percentages, 100% master, 95% writing me, 5% on behalf of Wendy, Truly Music Songs on behalf of BMI. When they're ready to get a quote from you, that's when you just have to know your co-writers. You have to have your music registered with the PRO. You have to create your publishing entity. That's when you fill in, like I said, Wendy Griffiths on behalf of Truly Music Incorporated, ASCAP, 100%. So that's when the quoting and the paperwork goes back and forth. And if you don't have a license agreement, they are more than fine to share and send you their license to sign their license, especially when they're dealing with the individual artists. So, and that obviously makes it a lot easier. And generally their licenses are very straightforward. And sometimes I'll have someone take a look at the license just to make sure there's no weird clauses in there, but generally they're very standard. So they can help you with the paperwork. You just have to be able to reply all to the email and tell them who owns the master and who owns the publisher, and kind of just sort of in like the proper form. Or they'll send it to you to fill out.
Perfect. And the link would be probably Box. That's what most music supervisors use.
They'll tell you, lately disco's gotten popular. They'll tell you to upload songs to my disco only. Do not send links. However, a ton of them really don't care how you send the music. They'll let you know. They will let you know. And again, I've noticed a bit of a trend towards disco lately, but not all supervisors are on it, want it, need it. But I'm noticing a lot more than usual are asking for the music to be uploaded to disco. But they'll state in their brief, when they send their brief, they will say, do not send MP3s. Everybody know why not to send an MP3? It's freaking huge. Freaking takes up way too much. So do not send an MP3 to a supervisor. Put it in whatever file, whatever format you have decided to use to store your music. And then at that supervisor, you keep getting briefs from that one supervisor, and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting them from this person, but shit, they want on disco. You're going to want to get yourself a disco account, because that supervisor wants it on disco because it organizes it. When you have it organized in your disco and it goes into their disco, the metadata transfers easily, and it's easy for them to read, and they get an email letting them know what's been sent, and it's just a really nice, clean system. So
Got it.
they'll
Got it. Thank
specify. They'll specify in their brief if they have any specific audio requests.
Got it. Thank you so very much. And please don't forget that email that we're all waiting for that you promised.
Yeah, just give me time. Give me time. Zion, do you want to do another question or two?
Thank you so much.
There was a question. Thank you, Maine. I'm going to put you back on mute, but guys, just FYI, I try to keep your question related to being a music supervisor, not just this. That's what this call's really.
Or a sync agent. A sync agent.
A sync agent, and not as an artist. I know some of the questions they're great questions, but they're more for like being an artist. Okay. Sarah asks, do you prefer for an artist or label to specify what sync opportunity they think is a good fit for a song, or do you prefer to make that judgment on your own?
I like to make that judgment on my own, because I find that, and with all due respect, you know, I'm sure the producer, the people at Grey's Anatomy, if they had a penny, $1, $10 bill, every time, like, oh my God, this is perfect for Grey's Anatomy, they wouldn't even need to produce Grey's Anatomy, right? Mm-hmm. So I find that sometimes, and this is where the learning comes in, and that's why paying attention to media and watching this stuff and making yourself get to the movie theater early, or making yourself watch the ads, because you may think these are great for trailers. And then I listen to it and I have an idea in my mind, and I listen to it and I'm like, I don't know what part of this sounds like it's good for trailers. It's not epic. It's not bombastic. It doesn't build. It doesn't do this. It's not cinematic. A lot of times we think our impression of what we do, we think it fits for something, but really know your music, know your style, and educate yourself. Or you make suggestions. And if you know you're on your game, and you know that you've licensed music, and you know you make great trailer music, or you know you make great singer-songwriter music for television, state that. If you know it and you're confident, state that. But you'd be surprised a lot of times people tell you that they think music's great for something and it's not. But if you feel really confident and you know you've done your homework and you paid attention, and absolutely. But I like to kind of judge, because sometimes I can think past, oh, they've said TV, and I'm like, oh, I actually think I could hear this for an ad. And Matt will be like, yeah, you're right. This works good for ads too.
Oh, good. That's a great question. Let's take one last one from Peter. Peter, do you want to unmute yourself? All right.
So I had a question in terms of like reaching out to artists. When you reach out to them, and you obviously need to make sure they're clearable, is there a way that you second check them just to make sure they don't have any previous agreements with someone else that might burn your relationship with a supervisor or someone? Just because I know upon first introduction, a lot of artists aren't very clear about what they have as far as rights and who they've made an agreement with. So I've always been a little bit worried about that. And also if they might have sampled, because obviously I don't know every sample in the book that's possible. And there's some obvious ones, but are there ways that you check those things yourself, or do you kind of go purely off the artist?
I think that's where your contract, your agreement with them sort of indemnifies you and protects you. But with samples, that's a whole other conversation. But I know what you're saying. Like, and I recently called out someone. I was like, there's samples. And he's like, no, these were cleared through, I paid for some service to have, and I forget what song. It was like a Barbra Streisand track. And I'm like, there's no way that this track is like on some service and you can pay for sample free music. There's just no way. So I question them. It's really hard to double check. It's hard. A lot of the writers and your clients, your musicians, will have had their music at other companies, and they're frustrated and they're not getting syncs, and so they're like, screw it, I'm going to take my music and I'm going to move. Right? So you have to it's okay to ask. You want to ask, has anybody else been representing you? And they'll say, yes, someone's got these 2 albums, but going forward, I like to give you this new EP, right? So you just ask and you hope that they're forthcoming, because it's really hard to go around and find out who else is pitching. But the way you will find out is if another pitching agent hears about you, they might call you out on it, or they'll call the artist out, or they'll say, hey, I hear you. I've not ever had this happen, but hey, I hear you're also pitching, whatever band it may be. And you're like, yeah, he told me that, no one else is representing this. Well, as a matter of fact, and really, that's why it's why it's so important to like kind of have friendships and meet people in person if you can, and get a sense of them, because I think sometimes there's such a desperation that everybody has to get a sync. Someone might, generally, if they were non-exclusive, they're going to be able to take their music and bring it to you. And what you just have to ask the questions, but there's literally no way of really checking unless you're super tuned in and you can check in with someone who also is pitching music, or someone tells you, but there's really no way to do that. And then with your song agreement, that's where you sort of want to protect yourself. But if you've pitched the song to a supervisor and it's got a sample in it, even if you've got an agreement with the artist, the supervisor still is going to hold you accountable because you sent them that. You're accountable. So you have to just run a tight ship. And that's why in my case with Matt, 2 brains are better than 1, because he and I each kind of help catch each other on stuff that maybe the other one missed. But sometimes it's just going on faith, and you have to, and if they say, yes, actually I've been working with somebody, however it's not going so well, and I actually can you tell them, pull that music. You hear it first, make sure you like it. You say, pull the music. Let me know when you've pulled the music from your other pitching agent.
Gotcha.
But that pitching agent, like me, if someone pulls their music from me, and again, I haven't had that happen yet, but everybody out there, you want to have a sunset clause. You want to have because you've been pitching them for a year. What if something comes in 3 months? What if something comes in? I want a 6-month sunset clause. Well, that's what I had at the majors, and as an indie, I want 6 months. If something comes in after we've terminated, I want a 6-month window that if a request comes in that I pitched on, I want to be able to commission on that. Because this is how it works. You send music supervisors and they come back to you 6 months later because they remembered you had that, or they found an old email, or, oh my God, didn't Griffiths send me some stuff from like the 40s? That's right. Hold on. So you want to be protected with your sunset clause. That's really important because you've been working for that person, and if they leave because they're frustrated, they usually blame the sync person. He didn't get me anything. She didn't get me anything. Well, guess what? It's competitive, and they have to be patient. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so
Good luck.
much for your questions. Wendy,
Yeah, great questions. Sorry, I'm sorry I talked a lot, but
no, not at all. You're so awesome. This is extremely helpful. It's right on the money. It's exactly what we're asking for.
Okay, awesome.
This is
Good.
fantastic. Thank you.
Maybe we'll do another one that'll be more just sync oriented, just Q&A oriented too.
Yeah.
Do that in the future if you guys feel like you need that or you want that. So.
Thanks everybody for coming in.
Take care. All right. Thank you, Zion.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.